Although the actual hexagonal light on top is accurate.
And they didn't light up.
They did not light up in the film that we could see, but I couldn't resist given that they already had LEDs in them. I've been burning them for a couple of days just to make sure everything's good. There's a newsstand and a map kiosk, and the map kiosk is a scan off of a Blu-ray of the actual film map kiosk.
There's actually a map there.
And there are magazines in the newsstand, but that's an Easter egg that I won't reveal until you actually get to see this model up close.
And then the base.
And then the base. This is so. My next door neighbor Bobby is a master furniture and cabinet carpenter, and he cut this molding for me specifically. So this is exactly to my drawing. There is a lip here so that the maze can sit down in that and I can screw it in. And then there's this channel out of the bottom, and it's in this channel that I ran copper sticky tape. And then I was able to solder the lights right to the copper sticky tape.
Oh, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually able to, the lights going in and being wired took a total of about an hour. It went much faster than I thought it would.
That's real problem solving.
Yeah.
And then one final piece. Is this done, I gotta ask?
Well, have we talked about where it's going?
Well, let's tell people where it's going.
This is the best part, is that after I started building this, through various channels of great generosity and wonderful connection, this is now going to leave this shop and ship to Monterrey, Mexico to become part of the Stanley Kubrick Traveling Exhibition.
Coming full circle.
Yes.
Where you first saw the maze that they had, that was completely inaccurate, but now this is going to take its place.
Yes, and I couldn't be more thrilled. They're going to have a little plaque with credit for me on it. And speaking of plaques, there is one last piece of this, which nobody knows about because it's not visible in the film, but I was able, through my research, to cough up the fact that on the back of this, there is a plaque titled The Overlook Maze, and I had a high enough resolution photo that I could see that it says The Overlook Maze. I can't read the text, so I had to make it up. You were kind enough to laser cut this.
Yep.
It's etched. This is a aluminized finished metal made for plaques like this. And then it goes.
And this is just plastic.
This is just plastic, but it looks really legit, right?
Totally legit.
And that lives right there.
Wow.
That is a finished product. Really, this is unprecedented for me. I mean, I've replicated lots of things in my life, but it's usually like it's an hour a day for 5 years, not 55 solid hours of devotion over a couple of weeks.
And incredibly pleasurable to do so.
Totally.
This is going to the Stanley Kubrick exhibition,
which will eventually make its way back here to San Francisco in 2016.
I want to get some photos of this. Let's get
right, with the snorkel.
We have your snorkel lens.
This is so cool.
I have my camera.
Okay.
I want to get some photo and video before this heads down to Mexico.
Yes.
Now, I want to let people know also, you've documented this entire build.
I have documented with hundreds of photos the entire build from start to finish. All the problems, all the things I had to rebuild, which were many, all the difficulties, and this will do as a separate post.
Yes.
A long post describing the entire build process with supporting photos and text and everything.
And we're going to discuss this in a separate video. Links are below if you want to know exactly how you problem solve the building of this maze. But thank you guys for watching. Let's take some photos of this.
Okay, now in order to take photos, I think it's best if we put it on the floor, and there's this extra bit. So put your cameras down.
Yep.
So here's the thing is, the craters are coming in a couple of days to crate this up. And in order for it to ship safely, I wanted to protect it. So I built a bracket for it. If you would grab the back of that by that handle, okay? And here's what you and I are going to do. You and I are going to lower this down into the corners. Yep, there you go. And I'm even shipping this with a tool for doing this that's colored the same so that they don't lose it, nor can they screw up.
And the crate goes over this entire thing.
They'll build the crate around this. You could stand on this and it's totally protected.
Brilliant.
You and I can lift this up. Will can pull out the table. Okay, here we come down.
Use your legs, gentlemen.
Isn't that great?
That is great.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can stand on top of this and, like, nothing's going to happen to my maze. That was the whole point.
That is absolutely beautiful.
I haven't seen it from this angle. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, what happens if something gets next up?
Well, so I actually have a repair kit. I've got extra crowns that go on the columns. I've got extra benches, and I've got extra street lights in case there's any significant injuries. And I'm going to include a little write-up that tells anyone who needs to know exactly how to best repair this. I'm also going to include some extra flocking and spray paint of both colors that it gets so they can implement a repair if it gets dinged. But hopefully this frame will protect it.
If anyone sees this at the exhibit in Mexico City or in exhibits forward, please send us photos.
Yes, yes.
We want to see this in its new home.
I know.
Before it comes back on its tour.
It's so exciting.
Like we said, there are more materials on Tested, links below.
They will be on Tested. Might not publish at the same time as this, but it will be up on Tested. So if you want to build your own maze, for instance, I'm going to include all of the measurements, all of the problem solving, everything. And if you do build your own, boy, I want to know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Everybody, Adam from Tested here, trying to wave and talk at the same time. Wave, talk. Okay, obviously I'm a puppet, not Adam for real, but I'm a puppet for a reason, because we have a very special guest here on Tested today. All right, here we go. Right, that's as much puppeteering as I'm allowed to do, because I'm not a puppeteer, but we do have an amazing guest. All right, you stay right there. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barnaby Dixon. Come on in here, sir.
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
I'm such a fan of your work. We are all fans of your work here at Tested, and we have been for a long time. I'm so tickled pink that not only are you here in the cave, but you've also brought some of your incredible creations. Now, can you tell me everything about this, because I've never seen puppeteering of the kind that you do, and I'm curious about your whole journey with it.
Well, I started off as a stop motion animator, and I was keen to do stuff on YouTube, but found the process to be a little too time consuming to get regular content out there.
Okay.
So I thought I'd try and adapt what I do in terms of the scale and the kind of knowledge that I have of movement and physics and things like that, and apply it to real-time puppetry. But I haven't seen a type of puppetry that could kind of rival stop motion in terms of its fluidity. So I set out to try and create puppets that get as close as possible.
Well, it's funny because within the history of puppeteering, I mean, I feel like some of this starts with Charlie Chaplin and his dinner rolls, right? Like he gets such an incredible personality out of that. But then I also remember that for Alien 3, David Fincher, for some of the Alien puppets, was using live puppeted rod puppets for that, and the effect was incredible.
It's incredible, yeah.
And I feel like that has a direct lineage to the kind of stuff that you're doing, because my brain really can't conceive when I'm watching your puppets move that there's someone behind it. It just feels like an entirely new organism.
Well, thank you.
So what was the progression? How did you realize that your hands could do so much?
Well, I started off with a puppet. This is Dabchick here, and the first iteration of that was actually something of a hybrid between stop motion and live action. So I was kind of using my hand as kind of like a rigging device almost, and the legs I would move incrementally, and it would be something like time-lapse as well.
Okay.
So I would sort of move one leg up like that. But all the elements that I couldn't move in real time were done in kind of a stop motion fashion.
Okay.
So for example, the head and the wings, I would go in between the frames and move it. But it was very, very tricky in that you had to keep your hands super, super still for a very long time. So I devised this.
After a while.
Yeah, so I devised this foot pedal and all sorts of weird kind of things to try and get it working.
Obsessed.
Yeah, I was, certainly. I still am, for sure. But it was, because again, it took a little longer than I'd have liked it to. So I thought, could all these elements be created in real time in terms of the movement? So gradually this puppet became slightly more live actionable, and I came up with a head mechanism and wing mechanisms and things like that.
Now I'm noticing some familiar parts here.
Yep.
These look very much like animation armature ball and socket joints.
That's right. There's a few kind of very typically stop motion disciplines at play. In fact, these joints here I get from John Wright Model Making over in Bristol, and they of course do the work for Aardman.
I was going to recognize the work. We visited Aardman last year.
Oh yes, yeah. Right. So there's some silver soldering as well, which is very useful for kind of this scale of miniature engineering.
And yet, you're not sculpting and casting these. These are all hand sculpted out of thermoplastic.
That's right. Yeah, they are, and for a lot of good reasons. I started off with resin.